Your brain and skills will only take you so far. To succeed in this world, you really need a network, connections with people who can help you achieve your goals. In fact, they say that you're the average of the 5 people you spend most of your time with. Luckily, it only takes the first 90 seconds or less to get them to open up to you, like you, and form a connection. Next time you find yourself in the typically awkward networking situation, focus on congruency. People notice your body language, eyes, and facial expressions. They all have to sync up so that you come across as authentic and trustworthy. Imagine if you asked someone, "How's it going?" and they say, "Oh, everything's great," while they're looking away and have their body turned to the side. Instead, make sure your body is opened up towards the person you're interacting with. You maintain good eye contact, without staring of course, and make sure you smile. It's the easiest thing, and it has the biggest impact in starting a warm relationship, yet so few people do it. Once you've mastered these 3 small things, the next step is to mirror their mannerisms. If someone's a low talker, they won't connect easily with a loud talker. And when you only have 90 seconds to make the right impression, you want to connect as fast as possible, so make them comfortable by copying some of their mannerisms. These tactics will get the other person to open up and engage in discussion with you. Lead with open-ended questions where they can't give a sterile yes or no answer. Any question that starts with how, when, what, why, where, or how is great. Get them talking, because that's the only way to identify common ground. Listen carefully to find out what they truly care about, what's on their mind, why are they where they are, and what are they hoping to get out of it. Perhaps you can genuinely help, or you can make an introduction with other people you meet in the room, or you share an interest you can follow up on and deepen your connection. The good news and the bad news is that it only takes 90 seconds. The bad news is that if you don't click in those 90 seconds, you probably can't get a connection going. The good news is that with just a few simple tactics, you can prime your encounter to become a fruitful connection. It's easier and more important than you think.
So good morning. Thank you for joining us. My name is Noel Davidson, and it's great to see so many people in the room for this networking webinar as a result of our program called 2021 Connect. You've probably seen the hashtags of the last couple of weeks, and we've had 10 challenges that we were taking place with and encouraging you to take place with over the last 2 weeks, 5 working days from each week. A quick reminder of those before we move on. We kicked off on the very first day with acknowledging that we can be very introverted, and it's quite a normal thing to do. So to the introverts in the room, which is most people at times, it's very tricky to get out of your comfort zone. It is a very difficult thing to do, to force yourself to network. So the challenge was to arrange a video call with some friends or some contacts that you might have as a result of hashtag 2021 Connect. Then second day, the Tuesday of that week, was a listening task. So when you're on a video call, spend a moment to actually truly listen to the other person. And when we actively listen, we get more from it, and we also show the person that we're paying attention. So it's helping the other person feel heard. Then the Wednesday of that week, number 3, was a smile. It is a phenomenal tool, and we sometimes take it for granted. But when it comes to body language, one of the most easiest things to use is your smile. So uploading a picture of yourself smiling and tagging the Entrepreneurs Academy with the hashtag 2021 Connect was the task of that day. And then the Thursday of that week was task number 4, a little help from our friends. Reach out, send a message, telephone somebody, send them a text, and connect with people that we've lost touch with in the last couple of weeks, last couple of months, or maybe even longer. Nice from a business point of view to pinpoint connections in your own industry who might be able to support you, and you might be able to support them. And the Friday of that week was don't let silence scare you. So it's important to embrace moments of silence. When you're one with yourself and your own thoughts, your mind is a muscle. It needs to relax and unwind just like anything else. So spend a few precious moments throughout every day, a few minutes to keep to yourself and enjoy that quiet time of reflection. Then we started off the following week on item number 6, which was the Monday morning, showing appreciation for your friends, for your family, your neighbours, your business contacts, clients, customers, whoever it may be, and write a little thank you note to someone or something that they've done in the last couple of weeks that you feel grateful for. Help out a newbie. This was number 7. Reach out to someone who's starting a new role. And as a result of COVID and the pandemic, everybody is pivoting. We're all in new roles and new roads that we haven't traveled before. Nice to reach out to someone to help them. So as part of 2021 Connect, be a helper, help out a newbie, help out somebody that is in need of that little help and guidance. Number 8 was the Lift Challenge. Our partner company, Lift Ireland, owned and founded by Joanne Hession, all about leading Ireland's future together and raising the leadership, skills and capacity in our schools, in our homes, in our workplaces and on our sports field. So it was to do a round table or introduce somebody to a round table. So www.liftireland.ie, all the details are there. The penultimate was number 9, identify common interests. So no matter how different we may seem, we should always look for common ground in people that we're working with or we're trying to network with. So the challenge was there to find something in common with those around us and that we're trying to network with. And then today, the final day, was about spreading the word. So it's always good to share connections and share how to connect and to share this challenge. So hashtag 2021 Connect. It can continue long after this 10 series of challenges are over. What I'm going to ask you to do is go to a website, and the website is menti.com. So menti.com, and you put in a code 621852. If you have an iPhone or an up-to-date Android phone, you can use your camera, point it at that little QR code, and it'll automatically go to it for you. Jerry, you're on the same device, so you'll have to pop it in either on something else. Jerry, by the way, if you're on your mobile, you don't have to press the home key and go into a browser and lose it. You're all right. You can just keep an eye on what's happening on the screen. Yeah. So menti.com, 621852. So what are we doing? Well, this is our starting point. Position A. What we could do is take a quick measurement of the people in the room, and your opinion. It is completely anonymous. No one's name pops up here, but we collectively contribute, and you'll see the answers appear on the screen live. So I'm going to ask you a question. And if you click the little heart, we can see we've 3 people clicked it there. There's 4, that's 5. Yeah, that's great. So we have everyone in the room, which is great. So here we go. I want you to think of a really good communicator, someone that you admire. Now, don't put their name in. I want you to think of them, but think of, in your opinion, what qualities do they have that make them a really good communicator? So this could be a family friend, a neighbor, a family member. It could be a politician. It could be a movie star. It could be anyone. As you look at your screen, there are 3 spaces. You put in either 1 word or 2 words, a phrase of the qualities that you think make that person you're thinking of a really good communicator. As you click submit, the words will appear on the page. The more people that use the same word, the bigger it gets. So we get a snapshot of the people in the room, your thoughts. We've 16 people in the room, including myself. So roughly when we get into the high teens on this, we get an overview of what we think collectively makes a really good communicator. And this is really interesting to do, Maria. You saw this yesterday, and there's always different words. So it's a really nice one to do. So they're confident, they're good connectors, they're inspiring, they're honest, they're warm, enthusiastic, they listen well, they are caring, they've empathy, they're direct, they're genuine, they're intelligent. And at the moment, the big words that are popping out of the 10 people that have popped it through, out of the 11 now they've done it, is honesty, listening, warmth, and friendly. So if we were to give a scale from 1 to 10, we would put somebody that had these attributes high up on the scale with a 9 or a 10. Wouldn't that be right? Okay. So this is like a measurement. So if we recognize somebody with these attributes, they would score high on a scale, 8, 9, or a 10. Let's go down the other end of the scale. I want you to think of a communicator that you don't admire. Now, again, don't put their name in, but if you're thinking of somebody who's a very poor communicator, it could be a politician, could be a movie star, could be a friend, a family member, whoever it may be. Again, what attributes do you feel that they possess that do not constitute good communication? These are their attributes that are dominant in their personality, what they show every day, that make them a poor communicator. And then again, we will see on the screen what we believe collectively constitutes poor communication. And the reason I'm using the word communication, it is the foundation stone of networking. So networking is about connecting, and to connect with somebody, we communicate. And I'll be expanding on that shortly. So attributes that do not constitute good communication: no eye contact, self-absorbed, talking too low, they make too many points. So that might mean that they are not expanding on it, or the points are understood. They're not truthful. They're self-absorbed. They're talking too fast. They're uninterested. They get distracted easy. They're selfish. They waffle. We had the word mumble yesterday, Maria, you might remember, but waffle falls into that as well. They don't engage. They have very bad body language. But in our opinion, the high scorers here, the ones that we all believe constitute really poor communication, is they're bad listeners, they can be very cold, and they've no eye contact. There's nothing worse than somebody's talking to you and they're looking around past you, over your shoulder. And do you know what? Online, I'm very conscious of that. I have two screens here. So when I'm working, I could be looking at you and you're looking at me here, but the camera's there. So it's a whole different skill set where I have to look at the camera and have some eye contact as well. So to recap, on a scale of 0 to 10, if somebody had these attributes, let me bounce in here. If they had these attributes, you would score them a 9 or a 10. If they had these attributes, you'd score them a 0 or a 2. So this is your scale. So now let's see where you'd place yourself on it, but I'm going to ask that question slightly differently. And it's completely anonymous. In your opinion, where would your colleagues, your friends, your family, the people that know you, where would they place you on the scale? It's completely anonymous, but we will get a moment in time average of the room. So it takes everyone's score and does a quick average, and we'll get a moment in time of where we feel we are rated. So 7.6, my God, they scored higher than you guys yesterday, Maria. Sorry about that. But there you are. It is 7.7 is what it popped up, which is a fantastic score. It doesn't matter what score you gave yourself. If you gave yourself a 5, how do you become a 6? If you gave yourself a 7, how do you become an 8? And no one gave themselves a 10, but if you did, you get to 10 and you soon realize, oh, there's an 11. There's always an 11. You can always get better, but you have to choose to want to. So how do you do it? Well, you dial these attributes up. In your opinion, this is what you felt are really valuable attributes of good communicators. Have a look at them. You dial those up. And then I'm just going to mute you there, Jerry, for a second. It's just getting a bit of feedback, but you can unmute yourself there again if you want to. And these ones, you dial these down. So the poor attributes, as you look at those, we can all be bad listeners at times. We can all not focus on giving good eye contact. We can always be cold to people that we don't really like. But it's nice to dial those down and dial these other attributes back up. So how do we move up the average? Well, before we finish today, I'm going to do some breakout rooms, and I will ask you one question before we go. And that is, what one thing will you do to move up the scale? Now, we're not going to answer that yet. So, quick one. I wanted to go into a little small exercise on some tips and tricks. And I often get different reactions to this depending on how many times I do it. Some of you will have seen this before, but I'll ask you to embrace it again. I normally do a session called Communicating for Impact. And I realized when I analyzed it that everyone communicates, but very few people are making connections. So I'm going to change that to exactly what I said. Instead of communicating, we should focus on connecting. And then for impact, impact is an end result. It's what you're left with. You've had impact. So something happens along the way to have impact. And from a networking point of view, and from a communication point of view, and a leadership point of view, it's influence. Influence is one of the most powerful tools that you can work to develop. Because if you can influence somebody around you, you have the capacity to be a leader. Leadership is not a position of authority. It is a position of responsibility. When you can influence somebody around you, a younger brother or sister, a team member on a sports team or a work team, a client, a customer, a colleague, you are a leader if you are influencing somebody. And every time we communicate and every time we connect, we have that capacity to influence, to share opinions, to share knowledge, and that can influence people around us. When we talk about disconnection, I always use this analogy. We've all made telephone calls where you make a connection and everything's going great and you're chatting away, but then something happens. A disconnect happens. The line gets cut off and you don't hear a beep. And what happens? You're chatting away and no one's there. It's the most horrible feeling ever. And then you realize they're gone. And then you try to reconnect and redial. When did I lose you? This happens in real life all the time. Both face-to-face, on Zoom, anytime we're connecting, we can get disconnected, either ourselves or the person we're talking to. So how do you recognize those signs of disconnection, the beeps, or how do you reconnect? Well, the mind can be fooled. I want to do two, now Maria, you're banned from this one. I want to do two quick exercises here before we just go into our breakout rooms. Because to be good communicators and to be good connectors and networkers, we have to focus our minds. And our minds are very busy. It's constantly being communicated to. If your mobile phone is with you there now, I guarantee you it's going to beep in the next 5 or 10 minutes with a notification for something, and then you get distracted. So what I'm going to do is, if you want to unmute yourself, I am going to, in these two inverted commas that you see on the screen, I'm going to show a sentence. I would like you all to read the sentence out loud. And as you're reading it, I want you to count the letter F's, the number of letter F's in the sentence. So to reiterate, I'm going to count down 3, 2, 1. You're going to see a sentence. I want you to read it out loud. And as you're reading it, count the letter F's. And when you get to the end, the sentence disappears. Ready to go? 3, 2, 1, go.
Finished files,
The
satisfaction,
all the results
scientific study combined with the experience of many years.
combined with the experience of many years.
How many F's?
5.
Got a 5? Yep.
3.
Got a 3?
4.
Got a 4? Yeah. So we're at 3, 4s and 5s.
5.
Yep. Good man. There are 6. And it's impossible. It's a lovely little exercise. Now, I am cheating a little bit. You might notice one of the words is broken and has an F at the end of it. So what happens is our mind is busy. It's always under pressure and we like to get things done really quickly. We don't have patience. We live in the Netflix generation where you want everything on demand. So this word scientific is split. So your mind jumps immediately to that F at the end because you can see it, and you skip the two ofs. The of is a connecting word, and we don't really see it. Now, I know a load of people are looking and going, I still can't see the 6. No. So capital F is number 1. Files, number 2. The two ofs here is 3 and 4. Scientific is 5, and the last of down the end is 6. Our mind is always busy. So when it comes to communication and connecting and networking, it's nice to switch off other distractions and to try and focus and make that person the most important person at that moment. Strive to be interested in them rather than interesting. It's more about them than you. And then suddenly you become the most interesting person because you're just amazing, because you listened. We like good listeners. I'm going to flip this, by the way. Our mind is amazing. If anyone here suffers from dyslexia, you still can do this. I'm always amazed with this. I have a very good friend who had severe dyslexia and built an app to help others with it. And he can read this perfectly. And you can too. Would you read this for me? You read it out loud if you want to. That's stunning, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, what happens is, and you could all see it, you got into first gear. So slow. I couldn't believe that. And then suddenly you're into second gear, that I could actually understand what I was reading, using the incredible power of the human mind, and off you go. You're in top gear before you know it. So what's happening? Well, we hate when our mobile phones have predictive text, don't you? You've often done it. You type something in, it reconnects it. Our brain has predictive text. It's so busy, it's trying to guess what's happening next. And it does it very successfully. So as you start to read, I couldn't, the mind guesses what the next word should be. So when you only see the first and last letter of the word it's guessing, you fill in the blank in the way you go. So for instance, if I was to show you, let me see if we can pick one. Yeah, this one. So let me go back for that one. The second word on the second line is reading. Now, if I gave you that word on its own, RDNAIEG, and said, tell me what that word is, you wouldn't have a clue. But because it's in a context like this, the mind makes up the answer. It's guessing what the next word will be. It is a phenomenal tool. So let me bounce on a little bit and say that the mind can be reprogrammed. In other words, it is very busy, but it is a skill. Communication is a skill. Networking is a skill. Like anything else, you can learn it. How do you learn a new skill? Learn some new tips, tricks, things to do, and you practice it. So I wanted to talk very quickly about how we remember a new skill, how we learn, or how we forget. So how we remember things that we hear recently, remember things that we hear frequently, remember things that are delivered with impact, and remember things that are given an application for. So I'll explain what I mean on that one. The last one, if I asked you to tell me the code to open your mobile phone, you'd be able to tell me immediately because you use it every day. You have an application for it. If I took the phone off you and gave it back to you 5 years from now, could you open it immediately? We stop doing it. We don't have an application for it. We forget. So let's have a bit of fun with the other one. I'm looking out of the room, so you're very welcome to throw the answer out to this one. If you want to mute yourself, I'm going to show you the still image from a movie. Tell me the movie. You ready? Or tell me the line.
I see monsters. What does he say?
Very close.
I see dead people.
I see dead people. Absolutely. Now, I don't want to spoil the movie. So if anyone hasn't seen The Sixth Sense, we're not going to tell you. But the reason, Nancy, did you see that movie last night? Was it recently seen? You're muted there, Nancy.
Years ago.
Years ago, yeah. Is it your favourite movie? You've seen it about 100 times frequently.
No.
You know the next one. It was delivered with impact. Ladies and gentlemen in the room, if you haven't seen The Sixth Sense, we're not going to spoil it for you. But when you get to that scene and he says those words, it is the big, oh my God, I didn't see that happening. It's a big pivot. It's a big surprise and twist in the movie. So we remember things that are delivered with impact. We remember things that we hear frequently. I'll give you an example of that. 7 sevens are?
49.
How do you know, Jerry?
Just remember it.
You remember it? Do you remember that? 5 sixes, 30. 6 sevens, 42. 7 sevens, 49. And you had to just say them frequently and then you remembered them. And then we remember things recently, but there is a small problem with that. And that is we can forget. One last movie one. I'm going to give you a word. Tell me the movie.
That's Rocky, isn't it?
It is Rocky. Well done. Absolutely, Caitlin. This is Adrian.
Yeah.
Again, it comes back. Why do we remember it? And sometimes we don't even remember why we know that. It might be that we haven't seen the movie, but it's used in a social meme or an advert or something, and it's just stuck there in our brain. So how do we forget? Well, ladies and gentlemen, we forget 50% of everything that we hear immediately. If you'd like me to prove that to you, will you please recite back those 10 challenges from the last 10 days? Can't do it. It's impossible. And as an educator, that's a really strong challenge for us in the Entrepreneurs Academy, because everything that we say, half it's forgotten. But which half? And it's a different half for every single person in the room. So we have to make sure something is connected with every single person. Otherwise, we're losing value. You forget 75% of what we hear within 2 months. So 8 weeks from now, you're going to forget 3/4 of what we do today. But I love this one. If you have a partner, you'll love this one. Of the 25% we do remember, only 60% is correct. Plus we add in things that were never said in the first place. So it is a challenge. So don't be too hard on yourselves when we're talking about communicating, connecting, and making connections. It's okay to forget somebody's name. It's okay. I used to ask them though, I'm so sorry, I forget your name, you'll have to help me. Mine's Noel, what's yours? You know? So it's about getting to know, to like, and to trust people. So that is the challenge. I'm going to ask you to get to know somebody in the room. I'm going to ask you to find some area of common interest, which will bring up the like, and then trust naturally happens afterwards. So what we're going to do is we have a couple of people in the room. Let me see what we've got. We've got 13 people. I'm going to make up a couple of rooms. We'll do some breakout rooms, and I'm going to put 3 people in each room. I think that might be a good figure. So there we have 4 rooms with 3 people in it. And we'll give this about 10 minutes per room. And what I'm going to ask you to do is share an experience from the last 2 weeks. If you were doing the 2021 Connect, share a challenge over the last 2 weeks, something you might like help with, or just introduce yourself, what it is you do. So that's totally up to yourself. What you're studying if you're in college, what the challenges are from a business point of view or a family point of view, whatever you're comfortable with sharing. Bear in mind, it's 10 minutes per room. So if there's 3 people in the room, share the time out. So I'll open up the rooms now. 10 minutes per room. We'll bring you back and we'll flip you then into another room with 2 other people. And we'll do that maybe 2 or 3 times. And we'll just finish then off just before 12 noon. Welcome back. So we've everyone bouncing back here now. Brilliant. So welcome back, everybody. Time flies, doesn't it? Like 10 minutes, it's just zip, it's gone. So thank you for doing that. And Alvaro, I know, and Elio, you were thrown in at the deep end there, but thank you for doing it. So well done. It is a challenge. And I think that's why we called this the networking challenge. But it's something that is very healthy to do. is to challenge ourselves every day. So here is the ask. To finish off the session, I'm going to ask you to go back to your mobile phones. If you remember, we gave yourself a rating. So Elio and Alva, you don't have to worry about this one. But the quick question was, what one thing would you do to move up the scale? So you gave yourself a score. If it was a 5, how do you become a 6? If it was 7, how do you become an 8? If you gave yourself a 10, how do you become an 11? And I'll leave this on the screen. So force myself to engage more with people. Yeah, putting ourselves out of that comfort zone can be very difficult. So that's a great thing to commit to. Reach out to contacts. Yeah, we all have them. And it's human nature over time that we don't connect as often as we should. To listen more, to speak up more, get out of my comfort zone, believe in myself more. And that comes with the experience. I think I used the analogy of driving a car yesterday. You know, if you ever remember driving a car for the very first time, it scared the living daylights out of you. All the buttons on the dashboard, I'll never be able to use them. 6 months later, 120 kilometers, no problem on the motorway, changing the radio station without even looking. So you believe more in your ability to drive with practice. Network more listening, ask more questions, reach more contacts, and become a better listener. So thank you for that. And I'm going to ask you to privately yourself to commit to those things. I'm going to add up a big spotlight on the screen. Sorry about that, Yasmina. But Yasmina is the winner of the 1 hour one-to-one networking coaching session with myself. And Yasmina, congratulations. And I'm looking forward to working with you. We've worked together many times before. So your biggest smile, because I'm going to take a quick screen grab. There you go. Hey, brilliant. So we have that. And we might just use that just to say congratulations to you. And then we'll be working through the session. So I'm going to pass over to 4 people to say hi. They don't know I'm going to do this. But I'm going to leave Nancy to last to close out the session. But I'm going to go to the instigators of the hashtag 2021 Connect Challenge, to Keen, to Peter, and to Connor. I'm going to ask you to take a bow, to unmute yourself, because if you look around in gallery view, you're going to get a massive virtual round of applause. So thank you so much for all the effort you did to put that program together. I think we all agree it has been a phenomenal start to 2021. So from us in the Entrepreneurs Academy, Caitlin had to leave. She said getting ready for a session at 12:30. So was Nancy. She stayed. But thank you. On our behalf, it's been amazing. So, Cian, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
To Connor, thank you very much.
Thank you. Our pleasure, Noel.
And Peter, finally, thank you to you.
Yeah, our pleasure, Noel. No bother.
Nancy, do you want to close out the session, and we wish everyone well?
Absolutely. Just thank you again to yourself, Noel, the TUD students, Caitlin for organising it. It was our target and our goal to help and encourage everyone to connect with old and new people that they've met in the past and in the future. So listen, all the best to all of you, and reach out to somebody you haven't spoken to in a while and let them know that you're thinking about them. Always be authentic. But definitely look at ways you can help out each other. So thank you again for your time today. Thanks for your participation, and we look forward to seeing you soon.